Okay, in this video we're going to do sections 2 and 3 because they're both little short ones. Okay, like an obedient toddler, Priam lifted one foot, then the other, till the sandals were off and sitting side by side on the lip of sand. Then, with a glance towards the driver, who nodded to urge him on, took 3 uncertain steps into the stream. When, as the driver had promised, he felt the cooling effect, he smiled, looked back to where the driver was still crouched on the bank above, and nodded. Then stood staring down at his naked feet, which were very bony and white, as the same little slivers of light came flashing in and nudged and tickled. He observed with amusement that they found the royal feet every bit as disappointing and without interest as the driver's. Okay, I want you to pay attention to the words that are used to describe Priam here. So, an obedient toddler. The image of him lifting one foot and then the other so that Somax can take his sandals off for him is very childlike. The idea of glancing back towards the driver who had to urge him on and he took uncertain steps into the stream. This is someone who is experiencing something for the first time. This is something that from Somax's life and his experience, he would expect a child to behave like this. But because Priam's life has been so radically different from Somax's, he is now actually acting like a child would in this situation, because for him, he is experiencing this for the first time. He is somewhat childlike in his interactions with this world that Somax is so comfortable in. He observes with amusement that the fish, which have already inspected Somax's feet and they were like, not interesting, thought this was going to be fun, but it's not. So they've swum away, new pair of feet come in, same thing happens. So even though as people in their roles in society, they are so different, when it comes to the natural world, they are both exactly the same. They are both just men. In any kind of realm where there isn't any political, there's no politics, there's no social order, like for the fish, they are exactly the same. All right, we'll keep going. He was a rough fellow, this companion he had chosen, with no notion, so far as he could see, of what was proper, but he did know his way about, and there was so much simple modesty and goodwill in the man, and so much tact in the way he made his suggestions, that Priam found nothing objectionable in him. It was not reverence he lacked, only a knowledge of the forms, and out here perhaps, and in the world the fellow moved in, such forms might not be altogether useful. He indicated to the man that he should sit, then sat very contentedly himself, letting the goodness of the cool, clean water extend its reviving benefit from his feet to his whole being. His spirits, which till now had been clouded by uncertainty and a fear of so much that was still unknown, cleared and lightened. Alright, so Priam, we can see, is having the anxiety and the stress and the uncertainty of this decision. All of that is being taken away from him by engaging with the world around him as a man. So we can see that from the fish, and also from his acceptance of Somax. So Somax is not someone that he would usually engage with at all, but he is recognizing the good qualities in Somax. He doesn't have any, what we would call, I guess, social skills isn't what I'm looking for, because Priam's kind of saying he actually does have social skills, but he doesn't have the training, the social training to be able to express that properly. So he calls him rough, and he says he lacks a knowledge of the form, so lacks an idea of what's proper and acceptable, but he knows his way about. So he knows how to exist and how to succeed in the world that they're currently in. He's modest, simple modesty, and goodwill, and a lot of tact. So he's trying to protect Priam. He's trying to engage with him in a really positive sort of way. All right, we'll move on to section 3, which is just this little paragraph here. All right, so we're starting from here. The realm of the royal was representational, ideal. Everything that was merely accidental, a broken thong, the cry of pain from a beater where the boar's tusk found bone and real blood drenched the leaves, all this was to be ignored, left to fall away into the confused and confusing realm of the incidental and ordinary. His whole life was like that, or had been, but out here, he discovered, everything was just itself. That was what seemed new. Okay, So here we've got a lovely quote about royal as representational and ideal. So again, this idea that Priam and his life and the world that he exists in is symbolic and representational. And he's saying that everything that he's encountered that's accidental, so these things, broken thong, someone getting hurt, all of this is to be ignored and left to fall away into a confused and confusing realm of the incidental and ordinary. So confused meaning disorganized, but confusing is interesting because it shows us that to Priam, these things don't make any sense. This is not how his life is lived. And when these things happen around him, he can't make sense of them. He can't make sense of the randomness of what is ordinary life, because everything in his life is so planned out and so decided. Okay, his whole life was like that, or had been. So here again we've got a reference to change, but out here everything was just itself. Okay, so there's nothing representational, there's nothing symbolic, everything just is as it appears. And this is what seems new to Priam. So this is what the change has brought about, everything just existing, and a rejection of this representational, symbolic way of living.